You know, some days I sit down to record this show and I think, okay, today might be a quiet one. And then the headlines start rolling in and I realize, no, it's not. Today we've got a fugitive sprinting out of a courthouse in handcuffs in Bavaria. Germany scrambling a crisis team as the Middle East lights up again. German tourists cancelling trips to the US in droves. And honestly, the reasons might surprise you. We've got Trump calling on an entire nation to overthrow its government, a deposed prince ready to step in, airlines shutting down routes across an entire region, a court ruling that might reshape German politics, a personal bankruptcy crisis hitting levels not seen in a decade, and just when you think we're done, Trump floating the idea of, let's call it, a friendly takeover of Cuba. And believe me, the most interesting part, I've saved it for the very end of the show. Before we dive in, if you find value in what we do here, and I mean the hours of research, the cross-referencing, the fact-checking, so you don't have to wade through noise and spin, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you really want to support independent journalism that answers to no one, consider using YouTube's Super Thanks or sponsoring the channel directly. It means the world. Every bit of support keeps this operation running without corporate strings attached. Now stick around, because what's coming later in this episode, you genuinely won't want to miss. Let's start in Bavaria, the city of Passau, to be specific. A 22-year-old man named Hassan was in court. A judge had just issued an arrest warrant for aggravated offenses, and what does Hassan do? He runs right out of the courthouse in handcuffs, just gone. Police immediately put out a public appeal for help, warning that this individual is considered extremely dangerous. They've deployed every available unit, helicopter included, and they're telling residents, do not pick up hitchhikers. Now think about that for a second. Escaping a courthouse in handcuffs, that's not exactly something you can rehearse. There's an almost absurd quality to it, like a scene from a movie you wouldn't believe if it weren't real. But it is real, and somewhere in Bavaria right now, a very dangerous person is on the loose. We'll see how this plays out. But let's shift to something much bigger. Germany's foreign ministry has convened a crisis team. The reason? Escalation in the Middle East. Again, the meeting took place at noon in Berlin at the ministry's headquarters, and the German government is now strongly advising against any travel to Israel. The ministry says it's in constant contact with embassies in both Iran and Israel, as well as other diplomatic missions across the region. Now here's the thing, Germany does this every time the Middle East flares up, convenes a crisis team, issues statements. The real question is whether the conclusions from this meeting will actually be known before the next escalation begins. That's not cynicism. That's pattern recognition. And speaking of patterns, here's one that should catch your attention. German tourists are canceling trips to the United States, not by a little. The German Tourism Association is reporting double-digit drops in bookings. Double digits? The reasons? Fear of stricter entry measures, political tensions, and rising costs. A vacation in America has become not just expensive, but genuinely anxiety-inducing for many Germans. And when you think about the German temperament, these are not people prone to panic. They're methodical, they're cautious, but they don't spook easily. So when even Germans start steering clear, that's not a warning bell. That's a full-blown siren. What does that tell you about how the rest of the world sees America right now? Hold that thought. Now, if you're still wondering where this episode is headed, trust me, we're just warming up. Let me take you to the Middle East, because what happened next is something that will be analyzed for years. President Donald Trump addressed the people of Iran directly. His words, and I'll give them to you straight, quote, "The hour of your freedom has come. Stay in shelter. When we are done, take your government under control." He went further, saying no previous president had been willing to take actions like these, calling it a once-in-a-generation chance. And then Republican Senator Lindsey Graham weighed in, saying he was, quote, "amazed by Trump's determination to be a man of peace, but ultimately the worst nightmare for evil." Now pause on that for a second. A man of peace who is also the worst nightmare for evil. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? But in American politics, oxymorons stopped being contradictions a long time ago. They became branding. And this particular brand of rhetoric, it raises questions that most outlets won't touch. But we will. Just not yet. Because right on cue, someone else entered the picture. Reza Pahlavi, the son of the deposed Shah of Iran, currently living in the United States, announced that he's ready to lead Iran, ready to step in. Now, that's a bold statement, but here's what nobody's really asking. Does he have any actual support inside Iran? No one has polled the Iranian people on this. No one has measured whether Pahlavi is seen as a liberator or a relic. And here's the part that really stings. Trump himself, who previously called Pahlavi a good guy, publicly expressed doubt about whether he could actually become Iran's future leader. Think about that. When the person who's arguably creating your window of opportunity doubts your ability to climb through it, that's not exactly a ringing endorsement. It's more like a pat on the back and a gentle push to the side. Remember this name, though, because you might be hearing it again, or you might not, and that silence would tell its own story. Meanwhile, the skies are going dark, not metaphorically, literally. Airlines across multiple countries are emergency cancelling flights to the Middle East. Lufthansa, Germany's biggest carrier, has scrapped routes to Tel Aviv, Tehran, Amman, Beirut, and Erbil in Iraq, along with return flights, at least through March 7th. Flights to Dubai were also cancelled on February 28th and March 1st. Airspace is closed not just over Iran and Israel, but over the UAE and Qatar as well. And in Dubai, there are mile-long lines of cars trying to leave the city. Mile-long. When the sky closes from Tehran to Dubai and people are fleeing in bumper-to-bumper traffic, you start to realize something that maybe we all took for granted. A peaceful sky overhead isn't normal. It's a luxury. And luxuries, as we're learning, can be revoked without warning. If you're following this closely, drop a comment below. I want to know what you're thinking, because this story is far from over. Let's come back to Germany for a moment, because there's a court ruling that is going to generate debate for months. A German court has decided that the Alternative for Germany party, the AfD, cannot be officially labeled as right-wing extremists. Now, the court did acknowledge that within the AfD there are sentiments working against the free democratic order. That's important. They said those tendencies exist. And here's the legal nuance, those tendencies aren't pronounced enough to constitute an overall anti-constitutional trend. The party's co-chair, Alice Weidel, called the ruling, quote, a great victory not only for the AfD, but for democracy and the rule of law, and claimed the court had indirectly blocked those pushing for a party ban. So let me get this straight. Anti-democratic tendencies are present, but they're not anti-democratic enough. That, my friends, is bureaucracy in its purest form. The line between extremism and acceptable extremism is apparently now a matter of degree, not direction. And if that doesn't make you want to keep watching to see what comes next, I don't know what will. Now, here's a story that doesn't involve geopolitics or courtrooms, but might hit closer to home for a lot of people. Personal bankruptcies in Germany have reached a 10-year high. Last year, nearly 108,000 individuals declared insolvency. That's an 8% jump from the year before. The average debt, about 15,000 euros. And the cause is read like a checklist of modern economic anxiety, high energy prices, rising food costs, unemployment, failed businesses, divorces, health problems. But here's what's truly alarming. Young people are being hit especially hard, largely because of installment purchases and buy now, pay later schemes. You know the ones. And among citizens over 60, bankruptcies rose by 10.5%, driven by soaring rents and stagnant pensions. Experts are now forecasting that this year could see more than 110,000 cases. Buy now, pay later, that catchy marketing slogan. For 108,000 Germans last year, it turned out to be less of a promise and more of a prophecy. And the system that created those slogans, it's not going bankrupt, just the people who believe them. All right, here's what I saved for the end, and I told you the best part was coming. President Trump has floated the idea of, and I'm going to use his exact framing here, a friendly takeover of Cuba. His words. He said the Cuban government is negotiating with the United States from a position of weakness, saying, quote, they have no money, they have nothing right now. Trump didn't offer specifics, but he suggested this would be Washington's way of helping the people. A friendly takeover. Let that phrase sit with you for a moment. It's when you take over a country, but with a smile. And no, I'm not being glib. That's genuinely how it was framed. No military threat, no ultimatum, just the quiet implication that when a nation has nothing left, friendship comes with conditions. What those conditions are, well, nobody's saying yet. But in a world where the Middle East is on fire, Europe is in economic freefall, and alliances are fraying at every seam, the idea that a superpower can simply absorb a neighboring island through charm and economic leverage, that's not just a headline. That's a signal. And if you're paying attention, you already know what it signals. This world is shifting faster than anyone predicted, and the only way to keep up is to stay informed, stay skeptical, and never stop asking the questions nobody else wants to ask. I'll be here doing exactly that, and I'll see you in the next one. Every like, every comment, every subscription is not just a number on a screen. It's how YouTube decides whether to show this video to 10 people or 10,000. The algorithm watches engagement, and when you hit that button, you're telling the system that independent journalism matters, that someone out there still wants substance over spin. If you want to go further, sponsoring the channel or using super thanks, that's what keeps this whole thing alive. Because here's the truth. Every episode takes hours of digging through sources, cross-referencing claims, verifying facts across multiple languages, making sure what reaches you is solid. No corporate budget behind this, no editorial board telling me what to say or what to skip, just the work and the people who believe it's worth doing. Drop a comment, tell me what you think, push back if you disagree. That's what makes this a conversation and not a broadcast. I'm grateful, truly, for every single one of you who shows up here. You're not just viewers. You're the reason this channel exists.